Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, Daily Motion, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for Saturday, February 7th, 2015, around 7:30 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. A couple more hours before the winter storm warning is in effect, and it will be in effect until 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. Lots of snow coming again. Some places could get 20 inches. It's our same old story and on and dance, but hope this winter gets over sooner rather than later because I want springtime. Some news to report. The University of North Carolina men's basketball team beat BC at the Heights today by the score of 79-68, and Brian Williams is taking a temporary leave of absence of hosting the NBC Nightly News, and replacing him on a temporary basis will be Lester Hoyt. And New Jersey Devils player Patrick Elias became the 91st person to score 400 career goals in the National Hockey League. That's it. And now, the third and final video blog of the night, the personality profile. Tonight's personality profile is about former professional wrestler Virgil. Virgil is known for his role as the bodyguard for the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase in the WWE for a few years. He eventually feuded with Ted DiBiase over the $1 Million belt in 1991. Virgil's real name is Michael Jones, and he was born in Nashville, Tennessee. And he was an amateur wrestler, and then he got trained to become a professional wrestler by Arthur the Wild Samoan, WWE Hall of Famer. Michael Jones made his professional wrestling debut in 1985 in the Memphis territory, the CWA. He won the international title, and he also was the CWA Tag Team Championship with Rocky Johnson. And Mike Jones is wrestled under the name Soul Train Jones, and he also wrestled in a few other independents in the IWC, ICW, and he was a jobber in the WWE for a few tapings for Superstars and Challenge around late 1986, early 1987. By the middle of 1987, Mike Jones comes to the WWE, and he's given a new gimmick. He's given Virgil, the bodyguard to the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase came up with the name Virgil for Mike Jones to use as his bodyguard, as an inside rib to the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, whose Dusty Rhodes' real name is Virgil Runnels. And Virgil was Ted DiBiase's chauffeur, servant. You know, he did the $1 Million Man's dirty work, and he came down to the ring with the $1 Million Man as a second and manager. Sometimes Virgil would get involved in interfering in Ted DiBiase's matches by punching and kicking and stuff like that. But sometimes the wrestlers would beat him up back. Virgil wasn't involved in like wrestling that much, maybe once in a while and stuff. But by the time late 1990 went around, Virgil started to get into the ring more. Virgil beat the American Dream Dusty Rhodes in house shows under 30 seconds in November and December 1990 because Dusty was leaving for the WCW. And this is around the time on television they were building that tension between the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil, because the announcers were saying Virgil was tired of being Ted DiBiase, serving a couple of times on television. You know, they had Ted DiBiase make Virgil wipe up horse manure off of Ted DiBiase's shoes, and Virgil was disgusted. There was another time where Ted DiBiase slapped Virgil on television. And then they had a match at the Royal Rumble 1991 between the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil against Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. During the middle of the match, Virgil accidentally hits Ted DiBiase with a clothesline. DiBiase throws Virgil outside the ring, and Ted DiBiase beats Dusty Rhodes with a roll-up with his hands on his tights. And then when Virgil gets up, Ted DiBiase grabs the mic and says, "Put on the $1 Million belt for me," and stuff. And and Ted DiBiase says, everybody has a price. And then Virgil hits the $1 Million Man with the $1 Million belt, and he spits at it, and then Virgil becomes a face, and the crowd was popping. And Virgil had a new slogan at the time: "I know how you spell man, VIRGIL, Virgil." And Virgil gets Rowdy Piper to train him and become his mentor and stuff like that. And for the next 8 months, the $1 Million Man and Virgil had a long-running feud in the WWE. Was one of the best feuds in 1991, and you got to give credit to the $1 Million Man, because Virgil didn't wrestle too much in the WWE. He was an okay wrestler before that, but Ted DiBiase had to carry this feud with Virgil, and they started the feud at WrestleMania 7 with a match between the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and Virgil. Virgil won by disqualification, but after the match, Sensational Sherry comes in and attacks both Virgil and Ted and Rowdy Piper, and then Sensational Sherry's Ted DiBiase's new manager, and the $1 Million Man over the house show circuit with Virgil. They all over the place. It was decent matches, but they weren't 5-star matches. And also Piper gets involved in the feud with the $1 Million Man. Sometimes Piper would have Virgilina in his corner as a second to counter Sherry. Virgilina was actually Virgil in drag. And then at SummerSlam 1991, the $1 Million Man puts up his most valuable possession, the $1 Million belt, against Virgil. And the $1 Million belt was worthless, but in this match, Virgil beats the $1 Million Man to take the $1 Million belt, and this was an awesome match. And then Virgil continues, and Ted DiBiase continues to feud. Eventually, the $1 Million Man got his belt back from Virgil at a Survivor Series showdown a week before the Survivor Series 1991, with help from the Repo Man. And then Virgil got feud with the Repo Man for a while, and Virgil eventually drops down the card in the WWE. He becomes kind of a solid mid-card worker, winning on television a lot against the jobbers and holding competitive matches against other WWE heels, but he drops some of them a lot. He dropped to Nails, Yokozuna on WWE pay-per-views in 1992, was in the Royal Rumble in 1993, but he went after $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and during 1993, Virgil was continuing became basically a jobber and stuff. His favorite finishing maneuver, Virgil, was the $1 Million Dream and stuff. And Virgil was competitive in these matches against heel jobbers, almost scoring upsets. He scored an upset against Bastion Booger on a Superstars, but the next week, Bastion Booger beat Virgil easily and stuff. And by 1994, Virgil was being hardly used by the WWE. Maybe he was a substitute in the Royal Rumble for Kamala, but he got tossed by Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Then Virgil started a feud with Nikolai Volkov, who was managed by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And Virgil says he didn't like the way Nikolai Volkov was being treated by Ted DiBiase, taking advantage of him through because of his family in Russia, as the storyline says. This feud never reached a conclusion. They only had maybe one television match where Nikolai Volkov beat Virgil, and they stuck the $100 bill down his mouth, and then Virgil suffers a severe ankle injury at a house show in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, summer of '94. Eventually, Virgil's gone from the WWE, and a couple of years later, he resurfaces in WCW with the NWO, and he's renamed Vincent, and Ted DiBiase and Eric Bischoff says Vincent was a rib because of Vince McMahon. And Vincent's the head of security of the NWO, and Vincent doesn't get involved, doesn't wrestle in any matches. He's kind of like a stooge lackey to the NWO. Eventually, he's a lackey to. He eventually kind of manages Scott Steiner and Big Papa Pump and Scott Norton and stuff, and Horace Hogan and Stevie Ray when they win the NWO. Like Virgil was NWO for life, and he wasn't in the group for a couple of years. Eventually the NWO disbands, and then Virgil becomes like creative control, the powers that be, bodyguard, and he was nicknamed Shane. Another web for like Shane McMahon. Then after that got tired, he was renamed Curly Bill. He was a stooge to the West Texas Wagner, Barry Windham, Kendall Windham, Bobby Duncombe Jr., and Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. And then eventually he's renamed again, this time Mr. Jones. He was the stooge to Ernest the Cat Miller. Eventually when WCW closed, Virgil was gone, and he's wrestling in the independent circuits for several years now. He's a math teacher, and he's at wrestling conventions. It says Wrestling Superstar Virgil, but there's pictures of him looking very sad because nobody wants his autograph and stuff like that. I have an autograph picture of Virgil. I got it 2000 at the old Suffolk Downs in Boston. He charged me $20 for it. And Virgil is eventually, you hear stories that he's hanging out at New York City subways begging for money and stuff like that. That is not a good way for a former professional wrestler who was on television, having like a big feud with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, begging for money. Maybe he squandered that money, what he made into WWE or WCW, on crazy stuff and this and that. But Virgil's character was with being a bodyguard and eventually being kind of like a solid working in WWE in the early 90s as kind of a face jobber to the Stars, was pretty good. And Virgil's probably one of those wrestlers who are like hard working and stuff, in my opinion. Sad that he's hanging out at New York City subways begging for money. Well, that's about it on that. Be back tomorrow. Facebook friends, YouTube followers, Twitter followers, Daily Motion followers, 3 more video blogs. First video blog will be about the top 10 sitcoms that Antenna TV should acquire to air in the next few years and stuff. Second video blog will be about a sports issue. And the third and final video blog of the night will be about baseball's all-time home run king, Barry Bonds. Coming soon to these video blogs, Julie Broughton and Heidi Pratt. So long. Good night. Bye.